Joining me today is Dan Feltus, who's running for the New Hampshire Senate and Senate seat 15.
Thanks for having me on, Jeff.
Dan, thanks so much. Hey,
Appreciate it.
So, we had you here before the primary, but let's just start fresh.
Sure.
Why are you running, and what is it about your life that led you to decide to run?
Well, I grew up in a working class family, and I live on Concord's South End, and for the better part of the last decade, I've worked as a legal assistance attorney, representing low-income folks, senior citizens, and veterans, and victims of domestic violence, and a whole host of settings, not just in court, but also advocating on pieces of legislation over at the State House that affects ordinary people and affects those vulnerable populations. And through that work, I came to know the distinct impact that the State Senate can have on the lives of ordinary people. And even though I'm helping people right now as a legal assistance attorney, I know I can help even more people in the State Senate. That's why my wife, Erin, encouraged me to do it. That's why I chose to run, and that's why I'm here with you today, talking with you and asking everybody for their votes November 4th.
So what's your bias toward crafting legislation? Now, you've seen it obviously from the other side, testifying and
right.
and advocating. What's your, as you think about how you'll look at it from a legislature's perspective?
Yeah, my bias is solving problems. I'll give you one example. In 2008, when workers were getting laid off in record numbers during a Great Recession, some of them were coming to New Hampshire Legal Assistance where I worked, who were not getting unemployment insurance benefits simply because they were part-time workers. They were otherwise eligible for unemployment insurance as a bridge from one job to the next. However, they were not getting benefits simply because they were part-time, and disproportionately women are part-time workers because of child care responsibilities and other sorts of responsibilities that they've taken on. And so one thing that we did is we looked at that, and we went to the State House, and we worked with then State Senator Maggie Hassan on legislation to solve that problem. She took the lead on it. We worked with Democrats and Republicans to move that piece of legislation forward. It got through the legislature. Governor Lynch signed it. Now part-time workers are treated just the same as full-time workers. If they're laid off and otherwise eligible, they get some unemployment insurance between one job to the next. And this is a particularly important point because recently, right here in Warner, Market Basket employees who were part-time were reduced to 0 hours during the Market Basket crisis. And they were potentially eligible for unemployment insurance as a result of that reform. So that was a problem. We looked at that problem. We thought of constructive ways to resolve it, worked in a bipartisan way, and that's how I'll approach legislation at the State House. So
solving problems and reaching across the aisle is sort of what I'm hearing is your overall focus?
That's correct. And, and there's still, we've done a lot of great work, both at legal assistance and other folks helping to address problems that face vulnerable populations and ordinary people. The governor has done a lot of great work moving the ball forward for our economy and for the middle class. And in order to continue to move forward, you have to put the ideas out there about how to invest in education, job training, infrastructure, energy efficiency and renewable energy, consistent with the 10-year energy strategy recently released by the Office of Energy and Planning. So those are the things to look at. You put the ideas out there, not afraid to put the ideas out there, and then you negotiate and work in good faith to try to resolve the problems that we face.
What do you think that the chief challenges will be, other than the budget, because we'll come to that in the next segment, that the legislature will have to deal with the next biennium?
Well, I think, obviously energy costs are an issue in the state. And as I just mentioned, the 10-year energy strategy released by the Office of Energy and Planning, there's a lot of well thought out ideas embedded in that strategy that we could take the lead on to try to advance, including energy efficiency, ramping our energy efficiency programs up, both public and public-private partnerships, renewable energy. Right here in Warner, we have some initiatives going on that are great initiatives on renewable energy. And even Main Street Bookends has used renewable energy, solar cells to help power their business. Those type of initiatives, that distributed generation is what will help us move forward, reduce the demand on the grid, and in the long term, reduce energy costs. So those types of things we need to be mindful of in terms of energy policy and take control right now of our energy future.
So just one quick question, staying on energy. But right now, this winter especially, most people are going to see relatively large increases in their energy. And a lot of it deals with the pipeline, as I understand, size, getting natural gas from where it is up here for the generation. How do we factor that in to this,
Right.
this sort of blip in a long-term plan, or which people are going to feel?
Well, look, we have become, over the last few years, incredibly reliant upon natural gas, both in terms of our usage for direct heating, but also in terms of our electric generation. Mm-hmm. And you're right that typically in the wintertime, there's spikes in natural gas, at least recently, because of the some would say over-reliance on natural gas on the northeastern grid. What we can do right now is continue to plan to enhance our energy efficiency. Diversify renewable energy, conservation, those types of methods to try to shift a little bit more in the direction of diversification so we're not overly reliant upon natural gas.
Well, we got to leave that.